Hi, friends. Today, for reading, we're going to start by talking about trees and, in particular, a pine tree. Now, I have a pine tree behind me, and I am going to actually label it pine tree. Now, do pine trees have leaves like I have? No, they don't. So I actually put some needles on here so that you could remember that they don't really have leaves. But there's a reason why I put those on there. And this is going to be like a picture web that helps us think of things that describe a pine tree. Now, a pine tree and an oak tree, they're the same because they're both trees. They both have trunks, right? That's about it. But I made some oak leaves to help us to describe the pine tree because it'd be a little hard to write on a pine needle, wouldn't it? So our job right now is to think about a pine tree and how would we describe it? Well, we know that a pine tree has a trunk. So we're going to write the word trunk. That's the part that goes into the ground. That's the part that takes the water and brings it up to help the tree continue to grow. What do pine trees have on them besides needles? Pine something. Do you know what it is? Pine cones, right? Pine cones. So we're going to write pine cones. Pine cones is a compound word. That means two words that pine and cone and put them together and it's pine cone. That's called a compound word. Okay, what goes below the ground? What would be like down here that we don't see because the dirt is there? What would those be? Those would be roots, right? Or roots. Depends where you grew up, how you say it. Okay, so it would be roots or ruts. All right, I thought of three. Let's think of three more. What is it from a pine tree that makes you sticky if you get too close to it? Do you know what that's called? It's called sap. So sap comes from a pine tree. We also have a story today that is a pretty silly story that talks about sap. So you'll have to tuck that away for a little bit. What are all of these things called? They're not leaves. What are they called? They're called needles, right? Are they pokey? It depends what kind of pine tree it is. Some pine trees, like Christmas trees, some are real pokey and some are like super soft. I think they're called white pine. They are so soft that they're hard to put ornaments on because they're just very soft, very gentle, is how I like to think of them. All right, so I was going to put pine needles. And I have one more thing coming. What do you think that is? What would these be called coming out like this? If it was a different tree, they would be like this. What are those called? Branches. Good. All right. So this is a web, a word web, or a picture web, I like to call it, that helps us think of the things that describe a tree. Now, my brain works much better remembering things in a picture like this instead of just learning, oh, pine tree. I have to know that they have these 6 things. But if I can picture it like this, I can keep it in my brain better. So even if your teacher doesn't have you do a picture web, as you get older, you might need to do that to help yourself think better. It's one way to learn. Hopefully you enjoy doing that. Let's see what we have next. Oh, we have a little poem. And this was kind of cute, so I thought we would do it today. It's called Little Red Apple. A little red apple hung high in the tree. You go high in the tree. I looked up at it. It looked down at me. Come down, please, I called. What do you suppose? The little red apple fell right on my nose. Let's do it again. Little red apple high up in the tree. I looked up at it. It looked down at me. Come down, please, I called. And what do you suppose? The little red apple fell right on my nose. All right, I will be right back with a story that is an anthology story. It's a story that's passed down. It's a folk tale. So I'll be right back.